Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pretend World's Real People. Here's your host, Mr. Tyler the Rocker.
Thank you, random stranger. Hey, everybody! The the vacation is up. The 2 weeks away from the show went amazingly. I just focused on a lot of auditions, submitting for a lot of jobs, and just getting ready to work my butt off for the rest of the year. So I hope all of you are ready for what's to come next. I put a bunch of episodes in the bank during those 2 weeks as well. So keep an eye out because I'm so excited to share every single episode with all of you, including this week's episode. In fact, you will hear me in the first, 30 seconds of the actual interview fanboying a little bit, which I don't usually do, but I love this week's guest. She's just an amazing performer. And not only that, she's incredibly humble. And we had a really awesome conversation. It was far more informal than our usual conversations on the show. And I think it was for the better. We just had a really honest talk about, getting started in the industry, navigating it, what it's like working in the industry a couple of years ago to now, and just what it's like being a creative professionally and trying to pay your bills that way. Yeah, it was just it was great. As you can see by the the time code, I went well past our time limit, but that's because we just had such a great time chatting with each other. And I hope I can have her back on the show. Of course, as you read by the title, I spoke to the wonderful Alex Essoe, who a lot of you may have seen for the first time in 2014's Starry Eyes, but you also may recognize her from anything that Mike Flanagan has done in the last 5, 6 years, including Dr. Sleep, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and The Midnight Club, and she has more on the way. I can't wait to see what else she does. I'm so excited to bring her back on the show in the future. And yeah, I hope all of you really enjoy this chat. Oh, and before we get away from this intro, please, it's a new year, New Year's resolutions and all that. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to please ask, drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It only helps out the podcast even more for distribution. We're at a really awesome ranking right now, but let's see how high we can get. Outside of that, everybody, I hope you enjoy this wonderful interview. It was amazing chatting with her. Now let's sit down and have a chat with Alex Essoe.
Hello, listeners. My name is Alex Essoe, and I am an actress.
A really awesome actress. In fact, like a
Thank
brilliant actress. Should I just
Wow,
like boost
thank
your
you.
ego right away? Let the caffeine just fuel it.
That's a good idea.
I've been a fan of yours
No,
for
okay.
years, and I'm super glad we get
Wow.
to sit down and chat. But dude, I want to see, how did this start for you? How did you get into acting? That's always really fun to hear.
Well, I mean, it's kind of in my blood. My mother was a stage actress, and yeah, and yeah. So, and she was where I grew up. I grew up in on this like compound, and we had a community theater there that was fairly well stocked. Like they had a carpentry like set division. They would build these beautiful sets and make costumes, and it was like a pretty nice. They would have some pretty great productions. But my mom was an actor, and she would also direct and do choreography and dancing and stuff like that. So she was very much an entertainer, performer, of the like 5, 6, 7, 8 era, fame and all that stuff. Um, Bob Fosse is one of her heroes, and
Oh
rightfully
my
so.
god. Yeah.
But but so I grew up with a lot of that. That coupled with just an innate cinephilia that I just had to like watch every taped video cassette my parents had, because all of our media had to be taped and brought into the country. There was like, we only got 2 TV channels, so I just grew up just picking all of these crazy VHSs off my parents' wall and just watching them.
Oh no way, because you were living in
Uh,
Saudi Arabia for most of your childhood,
yes,
right?
yeah, and Dafran.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just picturing a wall of recorded VHS tapes with masking tape and Sharpie, titling
Yep.
on it.
Hmm.
What was
Yes.
your go-to as a kid, like go-to tape that you loved more than any of the others? Did you have a favorite?
I had a few favorites at different times. But the top five off the top of my head, Dumbo #1, Now and Forever. That movie still makes me cry. Um, but I've always have a soft spot for misfits and underdogs, I guess. But Labyrinth. I mean, anyone from any millennial is gonna say Labyrinth, I think. Um, but rightfully so. And I mean, it ignited a lifelong desperate obsession with David Bowie, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
No, not at
Um,
all.
Wayne's World responsible for a lot of my personality development. um let's see what else. Well, Indiana Jones. I mean, like a lot of that stuff I would watch a million times. Victor Victoria, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah, a while ago. Oh my god.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's one of my favorite. And I'm not like a musicals person necessarily. But there are some that I fucking love, and Victor Victoria is definitely one of them.
Oh my god. So you had a plethora of genres to go to, because I don't know, when it comes
Oh
to
yeah.
shipping VHS tapes and that kind of thing, I could only imagine, some
Yeah,
limitations
well,
that
it's
could be
just
there.
people taping whatever
Yeah.
whatever was like in the movie theater or on TV. Like I remember when we first got a copy of Aladdin, and we were watching it, and there would be people getting up like in the middle, like in the movie theater. You'd see little silhouettes get up to go to the bathroom, and I thought it was part of the movie. I thought it was like a funny thing that Disney was doing, but then I noticed it on a couple other movies as well. I was like,
So they're
"That's
copies straight out
interesting
of, like,
artistic trend."
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the
exactly.
Greenwich Village Theater edition.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So
I
it
Wow,
was
dude, that's a
it was
crazy way
fun.
to start watching movies.
Yeah, although we also had, because movie theaters were outlawed in Saudi, so we had one of the only movie theaters on our compound, which the because my parents both worked for Aramco, and that
Mm.
was like they built it special for that compound. Yeah.
Oh, no
So it
way.
was our movie theater and it was our stage theater. It was our multi-purpose and our dance recitals and all this. We had a lot of use out of that place.
God.
Yeah.
So when did you think, I don't know, like, as a kid or as a teenager, you look at the screen and you go, "Maybe that could be me," or, "I wanna do something like that." Was that a pretty instant feeling, or
No, not really. I loved stage um a lot. I actually wanted to be a painter, and that's what I was gonna. I was actually going to go to university for fine art, and then I decided I wanted to travel and model, and because I could travel if I did that. So I did that instead. And I'm glad that I did. I would never want to have to try and make it in the art world right now or ever. Honestly, it's a really tough place. But yeah, I think after the first time I saw The Sandlot was the first time I thought about like, wow, I would love to be in a like that would be cool to be in that movie. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I was like, yeah, that would be fun, like playing baseball. And then I felt that way about like every sports film that I saw after that, like Little Giants or Mighty Ducks or you know, or the other Bad News Bears.
Oh,
I just
I
loved all
forgot
that
about that
stuff.
one.
I love
Yeah,
sports movies.
that's, 'cause I think you and I are about the same age, and Sandlot was, that's one of the
Yeah,
pivotal moments in, like, my
yeah,
childhood watching it going, I wanna create traps or things to, like, get the ball back. I wanna
yeah,
go and spend a summer in the lot. Like, that's insane.
yeah. Right, yeah. Or I just want to like act like I'm doing that.
Yeah. You never tried to scale a fence with,
I
flat
got
shoes
other
that
stuff
make you
to
run
do during the
faster?
summer. I don't want to spend a whole summer just playing baseball.
Well, you know what? This is
No,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
but I did love sports movies a lot. That was like one of my favorite genres for a long time. Oh, A
Really?
League of Their Own. What the hell am I saying? That's like one of my formative movies is A
Yeah.
League of Their Own. Yeah,
Was it?
it
Were
was
you?
so good.
Did you gear like closer towards a particular sport like baseball, or is it just really any like inspirational sports story?
No, I mean, well, okay, so I liked baseball first, but only because the guy that I liked in first grade liked baseball. And I bought like an Oakland A's hat and some baseball cards. I had no idea who any of the players were, or what any of the stats meant, or what the significance was. But I would just show up like, hey, who you got? Oh yeah, I got this guy. It didn't work at all, by the way. I tried becoming friends with his sister, who
Yeah.
was really great, and we became genuine friends. But not, and he could draw Ninja Turtles better than anyone else in the class.
That's where he got you, wasn't it? It
Paul
was.
Althouse was his name.
Remember his name?
Of course, I remember his name. It's
That's
my
amazing.
first crush.
Buddy, this would be an amazing like first act of a comedy, like a romantic comedy.
Wouldn't that be funny? Like, or
Seriously.
just like the opening narration of like, yeah, I've never been, never had much game, so to speak. Case in point. But
I'll say it right off the bat. Oh, pun intended, by the way. Maybe. That is the most adorable thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like seriously, trying and so young to be doing that too. Like I'm
I
going to,
know. I
you
don't know
know,
if that's a good thing or not, though. Like, is that a good sign? I don't know.
I mean, you are still your own person now, right? Like you're not obsessed with baseball. You're not
Oh
trying to
no!
chase that
Well,
feeling.
God, no, no, not at all. But I do get lost in love. That is true about me, for better or for much worse. That's that's kind of like, so that aspect of me hasn't changed
Yeah.
for sure. I tried singing to him. Oh, oh, it like hurts bringing it up, but it's so good. It hurts so good. Really, like the first stage thing I ever did, I was an understudy for Cosette in Les Mis.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and my mom was doing the choreography for it. And I mean, I was an understudy. I was like 6 years old. So
Still
it
an
wasn't
understudy.
right. Yeah. So it wasn't like they weren't looking back, it probably was them being like, "Oh yeah, you can have a part. Like you can have a thing to do. You can sing this song." And I practiced that song until my ears bled. And I tried singing it to him, and he yelled at me to shut up. And
Oh.
honestly, I probably would have done the same thing if I was him. They're like, "Yeah, you're singing at me. It's very uncomfortable. Please shut up."
I'm guessing in a public place too, or were you
At
guys?
school. At
Oh,
school. Yeah,
oh,
it's like I had no, like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Never, and that also has never changed. I still like I have like an amazing ability to put my foot in my mouth when it is so easy not to. When it's so easy not to.
it's part of your charm, though. Like that's,
God,
I think
you
that's
know
pretty
what? I am
awesome.
lucky that this whole awkward thing has become charming, or people say it's charming anyway.
Yeah.
Because if not, I wouldn't be able to go out around people.
Oh,
They're like, "Oh, isn't that sweet? You can't think of what to say." And I'm like, "Yeah, but yeah, but I don't know what is just because."
I will say you're not alone in that camp at all. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, also feel that.
Ugh.
I go through that anytime there's a like a press party or something, or you have to go to like an award
Oh
show
God,
and you have to go
yeah.
meet and greet.
Well,
Like
because
what the
also like I'm not good at being full of shit.
Yes.
So it's hard for me to behave like, oh my God, everything is amazing. I just like everything indiscriminately. And oh, the thing you said sounded so clever. But it's so hard for me to do that. It's so hard for me to like, I don't know, not honor the social like I'm not rude. I don't
No.
want to be disrespectful to people. It's just hard to like put on a mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
I
really, it
totally
feels
get it.
so horrible and awkward. Yeah, so it's, oh man, and the pandemic did not help with that at all.
Yeah, do you feel more awkward now, like, especially with in-room auditions coming back, that kind of thing? Like, there's just that tick there, or
Yeah, you know what's funny? It's almost like it's gotten to a point where I've made peace with it, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah.
um, I remember listening to Jordan Peterson talk about social anxiety
Mm.
and the nature of social anxiety and how it operates. And one of the main things he said was, don't think about yourself. Think about the people you're talking to. Think about the people around you. If your goal is to make the other person comfortable and to show genuine interest in them, you can't feel awkward because you're not in your head, which is where a lot of awkwardness comes from. And we as actors and artists live in our head and in our fantasy world and in our little whatever things, our la la lands. And it really, really, really helped me a lot hearing him say that, because that, like with acting, that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm my favorite. I've studied all the techniques, but my favorite is Meisner for that very reason. The
Mm.
whole point of Meisner is to get out of your head, which I feel the method puts a lot of people, and make everything about your partner and what you want to do to them and how you want to make them feel and what you want to get from them. And if you do that, and if you do that, and if your goal is to make them look good too, you cannot lose. You
Yeah.
can't be like, oh, what do I do with my arms? Acting 101. What do I do with my arms? And it's everyone goes through that. I don't know what to, because we're in our heads and we're like, I look stupid. I don't want to do my arms. I look stupid. I don't want everyone to see how stupid I look. But you have to want everyone to see how stupid you look. You have to want everyone to see it. You know, I
Yeah.
do think that there are a lot of people who get into acting because they want the shine and they do want like attention and image, and all of those things are very important to them. But a lot of other people who do it for the purpose of exploration and revelation and all of that do it, I think, more so to hide, to forget themselves, to remove themselves from their ego, and to embrace something that is much greater than them. This I mean, not to get too airy fairy about it, but this sort of Jungian idea of unified field, the universal truth, the great thing that allows everyone to relate to each other. That is the thing that I feel like we're looking for, or that we're meant to look for, I guess. Or that should at least be the goal, to surprise even ourselves with
Oh,
what we
yeah.
discover,
Yeah.
and to share that.
I think that's perfectly well said, because
Well,
just
thank
going
you.
back to the, getting out of your head, and most of us actors want to hide within a character, and it allows us to just explore in ways we never thought were even possible, to the point where you almost black out during a scene, and
Oh
then
my
you
God, or
cut and
go
you're like,
fetal, or all kinds of shit can happen to you.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's dangerous. Because
yeah,
it is dangerous. It goes against every natural instinct that we have as a human being. Every protective instinct that we have. Our ego is there to protect us. It's there to say, no, you don't want to feel bad. You don't want to experience anything bad. You don't want to ever, and we run towards those feelings. We run towards those things, especially in modern acting, which can be very dangerous and irresponsible.
yeah,
The method, which is how I feel about it. I mean, it's I think Strasberg was the most irresponsible and the most ego driven, which is ironic considering what he teaches this whole thing about resistance and ego death, and your ego is not your friend, but I own you. You can't do it without me. You can't do it without the method. You can't do it without the teacher. You know, Marilyn Monroe had a method teacher following her around everywhere, making sure she took all her pills and all that shit. You know, the Strasberg family owns her estate. They own the Marilyn Monroe estate.
Real? I had no idea about that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Yeah.
What the hell? Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
The dark
She
side
wasn't
of
just a slave to
history.
Hollywood. Yeah. It is. And the problem with the method is that it encourages people to go to very dark psychological places that the instructor themselves don't know anything about, that most psychologists don't know anything about. And there are actors, and it is documented, actors who have not come back from that. Because if you do have real trauma, you need real therapy for that.
Yes.
And acting is not therapy by any stretch of the imagination. It can feel cathartic. It can feel like, oh yes, I'm facing my fear of being in front of people, and I'm overcoming something, and I'm overcoming my ego and my demons to get to this and to get to that. The goal is art. The goal is not health. The goal is not to be healthy. The goal is to express honestly. And if you can't do that in a safe way, you will lose the control. You'll lose the reins. This is all unexplored territory in here. For the most part, we know almost nothing about our own brains.
Yeah.
You know, except what the lobes are called.
Exactly.
And how memories are stored. And, you know.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. 'Cause, I mean, I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. I work all over the United States for different jobs, and I meet, certain people within the acting industry. But, moving to LA or New York, whole new roster of talent out there. As you were coming up, I mean, did you run into people who were channeling that really dangerous methodology early on? I mean, did you run into anybody like that?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, so even in the classroom, even studying it, you can see it happen in class.
True.
And again, it's the method is the only technique that I find really encourages teacher worship. Like Meisner is about, you got to learn how to act so that you can work. The point of class is to work, to go out and book jobs, not to be the best actor in your class and to get a pat on the head from your teacher. This is a business. And every Meisner teacher I've ever had has, because I took the full 2-year course 1.9 times. I was working for my second graduation. So that really sucks. But basically twice. And all of them always talk about the industry as well. Auditioning, how to conduct yourself, set etiquette, how to talk to casting directors. Those are also very, very important things to learn. And that's what I like about Meisner, is that it's very pragmatic and very applicable. You practice it, you get into a place where it's second nature to you, and then you can always default to it if the magic isn't happening. Because if the magic is happening, you don't need technique, you don't need anything. You're in the moment, you've done your work, it's in your body, you just go. You don't think about anything. The technique is there for when you're like, oh God, I'm all seized up and I can't get into, I just can't get into the thing, no matter how many times I've practiced or how well I know my lines. It just doesn't, your body just won't wake up sometimes. Sometimes it just won't. And if you're a chick and it's that time of the month and you're like me and it's really bad, you get what I call period brain, which is basically like you've been lobotomized for a couple days, where you're just like that, because your hemoglobin is low. Yeah. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I don't need that much. I don't need so much sympathy, but I do appreciate it.
It was genuine concern
But it
more
is
than
no, I
sympathy.
could
Like,
tell.
are
That's
you
what
okay?
I'm trying to say. I'm like, it's really okay. It's not, I'm an actor. I'm being hyperbolic, but
No.
but it is, but but yeah, like that. But that it happens. Shit happens.
Yeah.
I have to kiss this person, and I'm not attracted to them. Well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Because the story is more important than your kissing preference. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those are the moments where you're like, okay, I have to use my technique now because I still have a job to do. Um, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like people have been so enchanted by the legend of method and oh, this person did this to get into the part and this person did this and they gained weight and they lost weight and they washed dishes and they ran marathons and all this, and that is can sound very impressive to people who haven't studied acting and don't know what the purpose of it is, and that there are parts of it that are like work. Like there are parts of acting that are scales. You got to do your scales as well. It's not all just I'm just pure expression and it just whatever flows through me is. No, you got to like construct the playground and play on that. It's not about doing whatever you like. And it's funny because this idea of total artistic freedom, because I hear a lot of actors talk about stuff like that and the freedom of doing this and doing that and pure expression and all of this. You are beholden to a script. You do have limitations, and I would argue that those limitations are a very good thing artistically. It is good to have something to work against. If someone gives you a canvas and says, okay, paint whatever you want, just paint anything, whatever, you're gonna sit there for 8 hours. Oh no, I didn't. I don't like that. But if someone says, paint me a portrait of your mother, that's gonna get really specific.
Yeah.
And that's what will save actors every time is specificity, being very specific in your choice. That's why these limitations are good things. It's a good way to look at it. I feel like I'm kind of soapboxing a little bit here. It's probably from the caffeine, but anyway, my
No,
2 cents ago.
it's I moved all my acting books to the other side of the office, so I'd show you my stack of Meisner copies. But
Yes.
I mean, my studio does the same thing where it is industry, finding work, getting into the work, developing
Yeah.
specificity and acknowledging that. And I'm really curious, one of your first credits is on one of my favorite TV shows, Reaper. So from that to like Starry Eyes,
Oh my god.
I
Oh my
want to
god.
know, like, how did you approach a job like Reaper with let's say lack there of you know educational applications through Meisner if you hadn't gone through it yet, compared to like Starry Eyes where you're in a leading role and you
Yeah.
have that education behind you. What were the differences that at least you can recall from those
Oh,
two
I
points
recall
in your
that very
career?
well. I recall Reaper very, very, very well. It was my very first time on a professional set. I was 19 or 20. And um I mean the role was not I didn't even have any lines. I was a bride.
Yeah.
So, someone walks in and I'm there and I'm like, and then the guy that they're chasing climbs out from under my bridal gown because he was hiding under there. And then I was like, because I didn't know he was there. and and that's it, and that's my big moment on Reaper. But the biggest impression that was made on me on that job was craft services. I'd never seen craft services before. I'd never seen catering before. The idea of I can order whatever I want from the truck and you guys are going to make it for me. I couldn't even think. I had to take a minute while I was putting things in my pockets. to subsist on for the next couple months. Anything I want. Can I have 5 cheeseburgers? Thanks. Sweet. Can I come back tomorrow and just hang out?
Exactly.
So it was, for something like that, I'm not constructing a character for that.
Yeah.
I'm on screen for 30 seconds. I don't have to do that in order to tell the story for something that brief.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess I did some other, I did a lot of stage in Vancouver and a couple short films. I made a couple short films actually with a writing partner of mine, that are still online.
What?
And I learned a lot from that as well. Yeah, he was going to VFS and I was going to my acting school, which was around the corner. I did not study acting at VFS. And if you are serious about acting, anyone out there, don't study acting at a film school. Don't do it. They don't know shit about acting at VFS. It's like a high school course, then they're just going to bilk you for $50,000. So don't do it. Also, everyone at VFS, a bunch of spineless Philistines, as far as I'm concerned, as well. I'm going to go on record saying that those people don't care about art. They care about bureaucracy and money.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, I take every opportunity I can to dislike VFS.
No, I love it. Keep it going.
But yeah, and so Starry Eyes, when that came along, I had already been in LA for a few years. I had again tiny little parts on things, I'm model number 1 on House of Lies. You know what I mean? Or I'm girl in the checkout line, fucking whatever. And so when Starry Eyes came along, it gained traction and funding as it went on. But when it first started, it was being made for $15K on not GoFundMe, but the other one, Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was just some rinky-dink student film or something. Especially when I got to the first audition, because it was me and 30 other girls, and we all had the same call time. And I was like, amateur hour, which is me, I've done fucking nothing at that point. But still, I'm like, this is ridiculous. All right, let's look at these sides, because I got the sides when I got there. I went in, I did it. I didn't do my best work ever. And actually, you can see it on the DVD. There's an extra, because they asked me if they could include my first audition, and I was like, only if you include my second audition.
Oh my
Because the first one's so bad. But
I gotta check that out now.
I
love first
they showed it to
auditions.
me and I was like, oh, it's even worse than I remember.
Really? Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, I can't watch myself do anything, but yeah, I mean, it's not there. It's not and I'm not taking it as seriously as I took it the second time after I had actually read the script, because I hadn't read the script when I went in for the first one. I thought it was just, again, I thought it was just some Kickstarter horror movie that my crappy agent got, because he would just throw stuff at the wall and see what stuck. So but then they had the second round of auditions at a casting house that I was working at. I worked just in admin, and my job, well, one of my jobs, was to upload all the audition videos from castings there.
Oh,
yes, that is a job I do recommend. if nothing else, so that you can see what casting directors see, and you can get some kind of insight into what their job is like. Because I'll tell you, man, watching some of these auditions, it's why do you even want to act? Seriously, I'm not even saying this to be catty. I'm seriously, why do you want to act if you have no intention of taking this seriously? One girl showed up with an iPad that she held and looked at and read off of the whole audition. Yeah.
What?
Okay, so we know that you can stand and read something off of a page. That's great, but that's not what we need.
Oh my God.
It was really incredible. Like some of the stuff, and you also get to see, you know, like there were a couple that were good, and you could be like, ooh, that was a good choice.
Yeah,
I like that.
keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so the second round of auditions, the casting director called me back in and told me it was a callback. It was not a callback. It was a brand new round of auditions because they didn't find who they wanted last time and they didn't want to bring me back. And
Oh,
she snuck me in. She brought me back anyway. She saw something and wanted to
yeah.
explore it, I guess. And so the second time I had read the script and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this is a good script. And then I was like, okay, like, this character is really cool too. Like, I can actually construct something with this map of her now. So when I went in the second time, I was like, okay, so I read the script and and I know all the references you're making, and I could see Possession and Rosemary's Baby and all this stuff. And they're both sitting there like, why are you here again? Like, why did you come back? They didn't say that. They didn't say it. They were very, very,
Oh,
very
good.
good about
Okay.
it.
I was
But they
really
were just kind of
concerned
sitting
for a
there like,
second.
oh, okay, like looking at each other like, oh, that's great. And then I did the second audition, and then I got a call saying, you know, can we go for coffee? Because after my second audition, it was between myself and a girl who hadn't auditioned. She had worked with the producer before, and she had a much higher IMDb rating than I did. So the director wanted to have coffee with me and get more of a beat on me before they made their decision. And I'm so glad that he did, because I was like, yes, we're going to meet up and I'm going to tell you that I understand exactly what you're going for. And I know exactly every reference that you're making. And the thing that clinched it was the fact that I had seen Possession and it was one of my favorite horror films. And her performance was remains one of my favorite performances in a movie ever. I mean, it's so, like, that is what freedom within limitation looks like, is her performance in that film. But I think the fact that he knew that I had seen her, and that specifically I knew about the subway scene in that film.
Oh my God, that
I
scene.
I know, it's beautiful. Oh God, it's so good. But I was like, I know that that's what you're going for, and he was like, yes, it is. And then 3 months later, I got the job.
3 months?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, because they had their own thing with like funding and doing stuff. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with casting.
But did you have any like correspondence between, like, during those 3 months?
No.
Oh.
No, but and I was like, that sucks. Like, I felt so good
Yeah.
about that one. But you can't really go beyond that when it comes to auditioning. You just
Yeah.
can't.
Especially after,
You
like,
know?
closer to like 2 months in, you start to go, well, okay, that's in the past. What's going to come up next? I've forgotten
Right.
about
Yeah.
that.
I have to move on to I
Exactly.
can only move forward. You can't
Yeah.
dwell on stuff and take stuff personally.
Yeah.
It's such a waste of time. It's such
3
a waste of your
months.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it is personal, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Still,
you said,
maybe
it's
you
a
look like
business.
the producer's ex-girlfriend. That sucks. Sorry that happened.
I once got too ethnic once.
I got not ethnic enough a couple times.
Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The
Yeah.
people have an idea in their head of what they want.
They're trying to find a scale. That's why I love the idea of, like,
Right. Like,
actors who've changed their mind of those who are casting, like, no, this is who we want now,
and the thing is, as an actor, you do have something to prove. You have everything to prove. You know, this idea of like, oh, I don't have anything to prove, and I'm this person and I'm that person and I'm so great and whatever. Go fuck yourself. Nobody. That's not artistic integrity.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's Emperor's New Clothing. Them.
It's not bringing in an iPad and reading straight from the screen.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
That
oh my god.
it
She came
blows my
in with,
mind.
oh my god, I forgot that this is the
What?
craziest thing. So she's holding an iPad in one arm like
Yeah.
this, reading it. She has a full cast on this arm. A full cast. And I heard them the taping, like, when are you supposed to get the cast off? She's like, oh, like another 3 months. And they're like, oh, okay, well,
Why are you here?
why are you here? We're shooting before then at the time.
See,
But no, it's really amazing. Yeah. I also once saw, and this is one thing I do love about LA, is that you can find anything there. You can find the craziest shit there. My neighbor, of all people, my neighbor who's not even in the industry, had a VHS copy of all of the auditions for Girl Interrupted.
how did what just at like a garage sale? Someone left it in the like.
She like got it from a friend of a friend of a friend, which is how most things happen there. Yeah.
Wow.
And I watched that shit too. I watched the whole goddamn thing. And I'll tell you what, there's no one else but Angelina Jolie who could have been cast as that part. No one who read
Oh.
anyway. Like you can really see it. And these are there are actors, there are a lot of good actresses auditioning for this who are good in a lot of stuff, but you can see like, but that audition wasn't good. That audition wasn't strong. Because no one is, even your favorite actor is not good all the time.
Yeah.
Except for Daniel Day-Lewis. But he only makes one movie every 7 years. So you know, he's an anomaly. He makes shoes the rest of the time. Oh my god.
I do want to ask you about I mean, we'll jump from, we got Starry Eyes, we got Doctor Sleep, love Doctor Sleep, into Flanagan's numerous amazing projects, especially like Midnight
Oh, of
Mass.
course.
Do
Yes.
you still feel like you have, if you ever had it, because I know a lot of people still do, did you ever have, or do you still feel like an imposter when it comes to like joining these bigger projects, or joining a big film like Doctor Sleep? Did you ever have imposter syndrome? I should ask you that first. And if you did get over that, how did that work? 'Cause that's
Yes.
always really intriguing.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, I have always had imposter syndrome. Not as far as my intentions go, but just every time I see myself on screen, I'm just like, why? Like, I don't see it. Like, I'm sure it's also like when you try to tickle yourself, it doesn't
Yeah.
make you laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just kind of,
That's just
I don't get it, but
just an
I'll
awkward
take
moment
it.
on a bus.
Right, exactly. But at the same time, I auditioned like everyone else. And that was it. I didn't have a friend or an uncle or a boyfriend or anyone. It was just work, just auditioning. So in that regard, on that hand, I don't feel like an imposter because I feel like my efforts have been validated. And validated by someone who really cares about storytelling and really likes actors. And picks good ones. So, the fact that I would be counted among them is simultaneously humbling and validating, or humbling because it is validating. You know? So yeah, I guess I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. I love asking, any actor I talk to that particular question, because it's, anyone can have imposter syndrome. If you get over it, that's great. But if you don't get over it, it's just, it's just something that'll always keep your feet
Well,
to the ground, you know?
also, I think you can look at it as like a a a too much of, or a consistent imposter syndrome that you maintain is another form of narcissism.
Ooh, that's good.
It's
Oh,
still
yeah.
it's still you're just focused on yourself and your image and how you're coming across, and that's it's not out of your control. You can't control really your image or how you come across ultimately. And most of the people that try really, 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 really hard to are narcissists. And
Yeah.
again, like, there is a whole faction of especially Western culture that has started liking narcissists and narcissism. They've become attracted to people who talk about how great they are all the time without actually doing anything that merits that.
Hmm.
um and they like it, I guess, because I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because, the American dream is kind of morphed from you can make yourself anything to what. I don't remember where I was going with this. But I do feel like oh, I sorry, I found it again. It's this idea of, oh no, I lost it again. No, wait, I'm gonna find this, because it's this idea that, as opposed to making yourself into something, it's instead better to get as much as you can for doing as little as possible.
Hmm.
And that doing anything that's hard is undesirable, and doing things that are easy are desirable. And that if you are in a position where you're doing as little as you can and getting as much in return as you can, that's a good thing. And that's something that we should all admire and aspire to,
Hmm.
and all of this. And I feel like that is creeping in. Well, I creeping in, what am I saying? I feel like that has started to take over the realm of acting as well, where
Ooh, yeah.
especially in the big leagues, especially when it comes to like the serious, like, money stuff, the things that are very commercial, very mainstream. It's not really about looking for something different or new. It's about seeing what works and making 1,000 copies of it.
Yeah. Keep printing the money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. It's moved from art to commodity. And actually David Lynch was saying something about that. I mean, he's always kind of had that attitude about Hollywood and commercial films, but especially now. I don't even want to try to paraphrase because he put it so brilliantly, but it's something that's worth checking out. Um and it can be kind of disheartening at times, because it's I was actually reading this article about nepotism babies. It's this nepo baby thing that's become a very popular trend. Where, people are like, you are where you are because you were born into it, and you didn't have to work for any of it. And, you know, on the one hand, I understand that frustration. I've had to jump through a lot of fucking hoops that a lot of people haven't, who are very famous, have not had to jump through. Um, Now, if you're really good at what you do and you're really dedicated and you really love it, I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't care if you're rich or if mommy and daddy is a studio exec or whatever. I mean, again, Daniel Day-Lewis comes from a very wealthy family. Colin Firth comes from a very wealthy family. Tilda Swinton comes from a very wealthy family. But they're all brilliant artists. There's only one of them. No one else can do what they do. No one else can do what Tilda Swinton does. She's the only one. That's why she works so much, is because she is such a master. And if you're a master, great. But if this is just the you show where making a movie is just an extension of your brand, then I have no respect for you. I don't care if you're Hollywood royalty or not. And but even that has become like a sensational thing. Oh, it's this person. I'm gonna go see it because it's this person. They have a legacy that I recognize, or whatever. What a novelty. But that's the reason why the interest is there. It's not because, oh, I saw the French Connection, so I can't wait to see The Exorcist because the first one was so amazing. Or like, oh man, Julius Avery, someone I just worked with, his first short film, Jerry Can, brilliant, amazing, like Dogma-esque. Dogma filmmaking is what I mean.
Yeah.
Just in case. So gorgeous. And I have followed him since then because of that. That's why I follow people. That's why I like Tilda Swinton. It's not because of a name or anything. That's why I like Laura Dern. It's not because of her dad at all. It's because Laura Dern is a genius. She's an acting genius, and she does it for real, and she cares about it. She's legit. That's why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to like anything for such a superficial reason, I feel is just going to corrode the integrity of what we do. So I don't know. I feel like I'm being such a little black rain cloud right now.
No, you're.
But,
we were talking about it before we were recording. It's just like we're this open, honest conversation of just whatever comes up.
Yeah, that's true. I can't. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna say it anyway, so I may as well not fret about it.
I mean, this is an audience primarily for you. I mean, most people who listen to this are in the entertainment industry or want to be in the entertainment industry. So it's good to have
so
these.
You guys all know what I'm talking about. There are some things that are just empirically true about
Absolutely.
that, and there is like so. Anyway, in that article, they interviewed a few casting directors who remained anonymous, of course. But she was saying, I feel like a lot of actors that come in now don't really know what acting is, but because they're booked on their name or their brand, they still make projects, and then people watch those projects, and then they think that that's what acting is. So now the audience doesn't really know. And the thing, and that's not to say that audiences are stupid. They're not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you show something that's mediocre and you tell people that it's great or that it's a masterpiece, generally people are going to go along with that, like The Emperor's New Clothes, which is absolutely a sign of our times. I think the most interesting films are being made in Europe, and the most interesting acting is being done in Europe. So straight up. I feel like America definitely had its acting renaissance, but it's not motivated by the same things as it was, and that's why it suffers, and that's why so many things look the same, sound the same. I've said this before, but I've even now noticed that there are patterns to the way actors act. This is this scene, so this is how everyone acts, so this is how I act too. There's no revelation. There's no risk. There's no bravery. It's just connecting dots. And I can't watch that. I can't be sad. Even if the show is about a subject that I like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I could be friends with a guy and we could like all the exact same things. I still may not want to kiss him. I still may just be like, ugh, I don't want to kiss you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's not going to happen.
And he may feel that way about me. Oh, you're so cool. We get along so much. Oh, no. I don't want to kiss you, though.
Yeah.
It's like a barrier. It's either good or it's not.
Well, it's like peeling back the panel, within your TV if you're watching whatever streaming service and watching whatever TV show, movie, or whatever, and looking at the algorithm and then just seeing like the outline of the show hit those algorithm points to keep those numbers boosting. You go,
I
okay, that's why
know.
this is the way it is.
Oh God. Well, that's what was so. Did you see the most recent season of Barry?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
My God. It's the closest. It's the closest anyone has come to, like, even the acting class.
Yeah.
Yeah, not exact, but the closest. The closest. And Henry Winkler, oh my God. But again, the whole thing, the algorithm says that if someone is eating a dessert in the first episode, that people will watch the rest of the show. Like that kind of shit.
And Barry's eating a
That
donut
is
in the first
right. And we
shot.
watch that and we're like, oh, that's ridiculous. Huh, what a funny joke. That is how these decisions are being made because most of the content creators are tech companies.
Yes. Yes.
This is not, I mean, of course, old Hollywood and the 70s, and it's always been wrought with depravity and danger. But there was a time where people were seeking out quality, when they knew what quality was to seek out. You would have a show and Neil Simon would write the script, Bob Fosse would choreograph it, Sondheim would do all the music, and it would be everyone at the top of their game, established screenwriters, established people, all working on a project together. And even then sometimes you never know.
Yeah.
Even then sometimes it wouldn't work out. But that's not how things are made now. That nothing is crafted. It's like, oh yeah, we have these 8 people from all these different places and they're all going to make a show together about one thing, and we have to take all of their ideas, we have to include all of them, which is great in a kindergarten class where everybody gets a turn. But the point is not for everyone to get a turn. The point is to create something of value. Now you can argue that acting has never fully been a meritocracy. You could. Yeah. And you can go back and I mean I can think of examples decades back of like, oh, I don't know why you were famous, but that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse to then pervert it even more. The point is to walk it back, to make it as much of one as possible. Yes, people's girlfriends and nieces will always make their way into projects because that's what humans do. Humans do that. Humans help out the people they love. Then that's it. Now, some people have some degree of altruism to them and will say, I help out the people I love, but I also care about my fellow man. And some people say, I help out the people I love and everyone else can go straight to hell. And both of those people exist in every industry, in every social stratus, people making decisions. It's all like that. So, but at least if the audience could be honest, at least if we could say, no, we didn't like that. Well, like the 2012 or 2014 Ghostbusters.
Oh, the Paul Feig
The
one.
Kristen Wiig and yes.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy. Yeah.
Oh my God. Unwatchable tripe. It's awful. It was awful.
Maybe
Revenge writing.
That's exactly what we need.
I laughed.
That honesty.
I laughed once.
Do you remember
at
what?
Nosebusters. It was the headline that said Nosebusters, and it was Kristen Wiig punching that guy in the face. And I went, and that was the only time I laughed the whole time. But and this is amazing. So actually, I may have to recant what I said about audiences have to make their opinions known, because they do. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave that movie 74%. The audience gave it 3%.
Was it that low?
Yes.
I don't think I never looked at the audience
maybe
score for that one.
Maybe it was like 23%. It was something that was embarrassingly low.
Yeah.
embarrassingly low. The people spoke and no one listened. They're like, no, but you're supposed to like it though. Well, we don't. Well, there's something wrong with you if you don't like it. Well, go
Yeah.
fuck yourself. How about you write something that's funny instead of a big 2 hours of finger wagging? Like, really? You're gonna kill the main monster by all four of you shooting it in the dick?
I
Really?
totally forgot about that part.
It's so lame.
I totally
Like, it's such obvious, like, what, like, revenge writing. Like, yeah, all four of us, and we're gonna shoot it right at its dick. Like, that is just what I feel, and the reason I dislike it so much, and the reason I feel it's so lame, is because I feel that it insults my intelligence as an audience member. I feel insulted by it. I feel like this is not a pantomime. Like, I feel like it's the same as them holding up sock puppets, talking to each other,
like, this is
teaching
what
me
you're
some
supposed to
fucking.
feel. This is how we're, this is what
This is
we,
what you like. This is
yeah,
what you like now. You like
yeah.
this. You think it's funny. No, I don't. Well, something's wrong with you. Well, no.
Well,
If it's funny, I will laugh.
what's the last comedy you watched that you genuinely, or if there's a comedy that you genuinely love?
There's so many. Well, The Big Lebowski.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's the best, and it's a I'm sure it's a very common comedy choice, but the reason it's so good and the reason that I love using it as an example is because there is no message. No one learns anything. No one changes for the better. There's no moral to the story at all. Nothing. That's it. It just goes like this. Mwah. And I feel that way about most of the Coen Brothers comedies, honestly.
Yeah.
I love did you ever see OC and Stigs? The Robert Altman film?
Oh,
It's like
years
this,
ago.
yeah, it's like
Oh my God.
this 80s high school comedy
Yeah.
directed by Robert Altman. And it's amazing. It's so funny. Recently, I don't know if it's meant to be a comedy, but Triangle of Sadness.
I wanted to see that. Is it worth a view?
It's very funny. It's not my favorite Ruben Östlund.
Mhm.
I think The Square is his best, but I thought Force Majeure was also absolutely brilliant
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
But The
The
Square is
Square.
my favorite. The Square is so good.
I
It's so good.
I know you've worked with him in Midnight Mass, but since this is gonna sound really dorky, since I watched the special features for X-Men 2 and found out Terry Notary did the movement from Nightcrawler, I've been the
Terry Notary
biggest
is a
admirer of his.
genius. He's a
He's
genius.
yeah.
And he's a very good soul. Like he's another person who understands acting and
Yes.
movement and acting on a much deeper level than most people. Like, and body movement is so important in acting. Being connected to your body, not letting
Yeah.
your body get in the way, not allowing your body to shut down on you when you're acting. These are all very important things.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
this has come up a lot on this show, and I'm interested to see what your response is, because you do work a lot. You've built this career. You're picking up projects here and there. You're going to different characters, different places, different mindsets, different emotions. What helps you kind of let go of all of that? What do you do outside of your job that allows you to just enjoy life and be free and not think about it for a couple
Oh,
hours out of the day?
um, I it's funny. It's actually very easy for me to drop it. At the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, quitting time. Woo! Move my mic. Peace.
Makeup wipe over the face.
That's my
All right.
12 hours. Yeah. Seriously, if there was a card to punch, I would happily just.
Yeah. Shut it off.
Yeah.
Like, do you
Oh,
have any hobbies or anything like that?
oh yeah. Well, I play music. That was my. I always joked that was my plan B.
Painting and then music.
Yeah, music. Well, painting would be like number 4 or something like that. That's something I just do because I love it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was in a couple bands. I had a solo thing. I keep threatening to release the CP that I recorded a couple years ago before the pandemic, but
Why not?
so nervous. I listen to it. I'm like, this isn't good.
Yeah, but that's just you listening to your
I
own
know
stuff.
it is. It's me being crazy, but
Yeah.
I also like actors that make music. So
Hey, there's a couple really great ones out there.
there's like 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Daniels and Steve Martin.
Yep.
Yep, there they are.
Well, that's I mean, it's good to hear that it's easy to just kind of clock off and let it go. I think it goes back to the method thing too. Some people just they hang on to it for
Why? Like,
the rest
fucking
of the
why?
day.
Why?
Uh,
Why? Like, this is what I mean. It's a job. It's an
yeah.
art form that is a career that you've chosen. It's not like it's not good to be morbidly precious with it, with
Yeah.
anything. You can be obsessed. I'm obsessed with what I do. I'm obsessed with knowing about it and learning about it and learning about all the things that inform it. Um, but that's pretty limitless. So, I feel like that's a healthier obsession because it's always new. You're learning new things all the time, you
Yeah.
know? And as someone who gets very burnt out on patterns, it's I never get stuck in a pattern with acting.
Hmm.
Um, and if I get stuck in a pattern anywhere else, it like freaks me out. I have to like eject. So, and if I ever got to that point with acting, I would quit and do something else probably if it didn't hold any more mystery for me. But again, I don't know how that's possible because the width and breadth and depth of the human experience and the human condition is virtually limitless. I mean, as far as we know,
Yeah.
I haven't reached the ceiling yet. And I haven't heard any older actors say anything to that effect either. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
never ending, especially with the amount of
yeah.
passion you have for it. I can only imagine what crazy adventures you're going to have throughout your entire career.
I hope so. And the thing is, and this is actually a good thing to keep in mind for anyone who wants to get into acting, that comes at a cost.
Mhm.
You sacrifice things to do that, to live that way. You know, you miss a lot of stuff. You miss a lot of stuff. You miss fun stuff. You miss life stuff. You miss windows for life stuff. Like it's fun and it's exhilarating and it's being an adventurer is great, but it comes at a price,
Yeah.
you know, and you got to think about if that's a price you want to pay too. There's no like, oh, I have it all. I have this and I have that and I have this and that and I just have everything I've ever wanted. There's no plateau.
No.
You will never eventually reach a plateau. Um, if what you're motivated by is exploration.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You could reach a plateau professionally where you're like, oh yeah, I'm like a session musician. You know, I go to the studio, I
Mhm.
lay down my tracks, I go home, I got it covered.
Boom.
I got my family, I got my this, and that's fine. And that's fine. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. I don't begrudge anybody that. It makes complete sense to me. There are even times that I think like, oh, maybe it would have been nice to like go to college and meet a sweetheart and get married at 25 and have a family and have a nice job where I go during the day and then I have my nights and weekends free and I can take my summers off and I can get drinks with the girls and I have income, steady income. Like I didn't start making adult money till a couple years ago. And when I say adult money, I mean money I can live on, not
Yeah.
like I'm not rolling in cash. Like I don't have to borrow money from people anymore.
Listener, she's eating a lot of caviar right now. I don't know if she's telling the truth about that.
Yeah,
I think
it's right. It's right. This
No,
is the mother of pearl spoon. I wanted the abalone spoon. They are not the same thing.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're exactly right. I'd say my 20s were a blur. I did small things. I did a movie, and then ever since then, it was just
yeah.
work, work, work,
Well,
work. Trying to
and the
find stuff.
amount of people who do get that, who do get the like, I made it at 20. I'm a
Yeah,
multi-millionaire at 25. I got my husband and my kids and all the show. That is that many percentage of people who want to be actors. That's almost no one. Do not hope for that. Don't get into this hoping for that shit. Also, a lot of the time, those people have been doing it since they were 6, and they've been in LA since they were 6, and everybody knows them, and
yeah,
they've all been waiting for them to turn 18.
yeah. I can't tell
That's
you like how many of us in Colorado, at least, if there's a SAG car commercial that comes in, all of us are thinking, "Oh, that money would change our lives." Yeah, that
yeah.
would be fantastic. But luckily, none of us are ever
Financially, it would.
mad. Yeah,
Yeah.
like none of us ever really book it. It's somebody from LA that flies out to Colorado to do it or something.
Right.
But,
Yeah, it was the same in Vancouver.
really,
All the projects that came up to Vancouver, all the big parts were cast. You would get cast as like the friend or the grocery clerk or the driver or the bellman or the doctor, the lawyer.
oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like all those parts were, I mean, they would still audition those parts, but they were already cast. Which is another thing that happens. Which, whatever,
yeah,
I'll go in there and do my thing. I'll
yeah,
present myself to the directors, and hopefully they'll keep me in mind for something else. But most of the time, it's like rock climbing. You gotta
yeah.
like, oh, I'm here. You gotta find another hold. Oh, that doesn't
Yep.
work. Gotta find another one. Gotta turn this way.
Trying to navigate it.
Gotta hang upside down for a really long time. A really long time. And and then eventually make it to the precipice.
Yeah. Well, you know
Maybe.
what? Yeah, that
Maybe. There's
actually,
no
that's the biggest
guarantee.
point.
There's no
There's no
guarantee.
guarantee.
There's no like, oh, I'm gonna work my way up through the company and one day I'll make
Yeah.
partner. There's no. It can't work that way.
It's oh, maybe I won't have to, wait tables by 40, but who knows? I don't know. But we'll work our asses off for the best.
Well, and I was reading about our illustrious union that when you retire, if you want to keep your health insurance, you still have to make a certain amount of money every year, even after
What?
you retire. Yeah. Now, maybe someone will fact check that and be like, "Hey, that's not right," or there's an addendum that means blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
that's what I understood when I read it. They're like,
Oh
"Yeah,
my.
you're retired, but if you want healthcare,
Need to make that 26 thou a year
gotta
still.
make that." Yes, yes,
Oh my god. You know
yeah.
what? We're
Well,
all of us are gonna start an OnlyFans, and we're just going to whisper sounds. That's how we're gonna save for retirement.
ASMR OnlyFans.
Yes.
That's so funny.
Well, with all of that, as we're gearing towards the end of this chat, which has been awesome. I don't want to take up your entire day. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I do want
Ditto.
to.
I don't even know what time it is.
It's
Oh, that
well,
sounds good.
12:22 my time.
Yeah,
But
11:22 my time.
oh yeah, I'm just gloating. You have a whole nother hour of your day ahead of you. Uh, what can you pass on to our listeners as far as like advice goes? So something that maybe you've held on to throughout your career or something that you fully believe in?
Oh, a lot.
Do you have something you could pass
Everything.
on?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything you've ever heard about LA and Hollywood is true. Whatever it is, I don't even know what it is that you've heard, but it's true. Um, no one is in the business of making dreams come true, and no one has to do you any favors. No one owes you anything. Um, that being said, you can always say no to anything. Never ever worry about saying no. Even if it's, oh, but this is a big director, but this is a big casting director, but this is a big producer, but it's Harvey Weinstein. Doesn't matter. Say no. If you don't feel comfortable, you say no. No is not the door closing that you think it is. Sometimes you'll say no to stuff and people will respect you for it. For example, I said no to my very first professional audition in Vancouver. The very first professional audition I ever got was through an agent who took a chance on me. And he knew I hadn't really done anything. I'd done theater and that was it. And the reason I said no to it, and I talked to him about this, is that it was for the part of a girl who gets fucked at a party. And the audition was going in and simulating an orgasm. Yeah. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah. And I got in trouble. Like, he was calling me. He was like, what do you mean? Like, you can't just say no. Like, they're going to be upset. And I was like, that's fine. I'm not doing that. Like, I can't do, it's not even that I could do it. I just don't want to. I can't do it. Like, I can't go into a room and do that. That's for, and what's the payoff exactly? I get to get fucked at a party in a movie. No thanks. I don't want that on my resume. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want the job. Tell them no thanks. Yeah. 3 weeks later, they brought me in for something else with lines. I didn't get that, but they brought me in for it. You know? Yeah. Now, that particular agent was kind of a scumbag. Like, not a lecherous scumbag, but he was just one of those people who doesn't really pay attention because they're too busy thinking about their own advancement.
Yeah, thinking about money,
you know what I mean?
And what this is going to do
for
them. Yeah.
Just him. Well, the idea, him giving me shit for this audition, I said, how could you even submit me for this? Why would I ever want to do that? I'm an actor.
Yeah.
If they want someone to just pretend to have an orgasm, hire a porn star. Wow. Where's the acting in that? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so like, ugh. So you can say no. It's not gonna just don't worry about it. Yeah. I actually, not to be so anecdotal, so tell me if this gets tiresome, but I was at a party once, that a friend of mine took me to, and Harvey Weinstein was there, and he said, "Oh, hey, that's Harvey Weinstein. Do you want to go and try and meet him?" And I said, "No, I don't." Because even me, fucking nobody, just moved to LA a year before, even I knew what a scumbag predator that guy was. Because everybody knew. Everybody knew. Even people said they didn't know. Oh my God, I did coke with him all through the 90s and I had no idea what he was really like. Give me a fucking break. Come on. Give me a fucking break. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's not... People like to make you think, especially actors, because we want it so bad, because we would do it for free if we had to. We are so easy to take advantage of. And that lie is perpetrated not just in the industry, but also in acting classes. This idea of that commitment means there is nothing outside of acting, and you do anything you can to make it in, to get in the room, and you do have to get in the room. Once you get in the room, you're already at a new level. You got to get in the fucking room, but you have to do it. I mean, I think you should do it the right way. It's your life, though. But God, I need to stop digressing so much. I keep losing my train of thought. But
you'll find it back. You'll find it back.
So bad. No, it's like I don't even know what it is. I probably need medication for it or something. But what the hell was I even talking about? What was I even saying?
So just,
oh my God, how tiresome.
It's just like, I always think about the suits. It's like this idea of separating the fact that this is a job, like this is, you're going at, this isn't your entire fucking life.
Right. And they'll tell you, like, you have to do it because so many people want it and it's so competitive and there's so many people out there. There isn't a lot of competition. There's just a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's a lot of bodies to wade through. That doesn't mean that they're your competition. They're just there. The rate of people who move to LA and then move out of LA in the next year or two is astounding. Like, there's a constant rotation of people who think they want to be actors and they come here and they're like, oh, fuck this. This sucks. It's humiliating and people aren't nice here.
You know what I mean? It's not small town USA.
Right, exactly. So you do need to be committed. You do need to have ambition, but not be so blindly ambitious that you're willing to compromise yourself for it. Because you have to look at yourself in the mirror for the rest of your life, and you're always gonna know, and you're always gonna wonder, was I good enough? Or is it because I compromised myself? Or is it because someone gave me this opportunity that I didn't earn? You'll never know. You'll never know. When we talk about an imposter syndrome, you'll get to a point, even if you know, you slept with someone and you got a part and that launched your career, and then you started getting better at acting. And maybe that rarely happens, especially once fame enters the picture, but maybe you do. You still won't know. You'll still never know. That will never be quelled within you. And I've seen it happen to people. And I've seen the kind of bitter, jealous monsters it turns them into. It's not worth it because life exists outside of acting. We're just representing life. You have to live a life in order to represent, to know what it is that you're representing. So this idea of it's only acting. Acting is the only thing. You read the books, you go to class, you watch the interviews, you do all that, and that is your life, and nothing else matters. I heard one anecdote given in class about this guy who missed his own father's funeral because he was on set. Yeah, and everyone's like, wow, that is such dedication. Fuck that.
No.
Fuck that. I
No
am
way,
not
no.
missing my only father's funeral for a job.
Yeah.
For a job? Fuck that. I'll break my contract. I'll break my contract. You can fucking sue me if you want to.
Yeah.
I'm not missing. That's the only time you're ever going to be able to do that. You can do as many takes of something as you want. But I always thought that was such a weird anecdote. I'm like, did this guy hate his dad? Because that's the only thing that can justify that to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I'm on set and everyone's counting on me. Like, what
This
about your
is my
family? Are
family.
your family counting on you?
Yeah.
Right. But so it's this lie that's sold. And that's one of the reasons that sex is used as currency so much. Because like I don't want to wait until I'm not hot anymore. I want to be famous now. You know what I mean? Right, because
And
it's
that
not
usually works out, right?
for a few years. It can for a few years.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the ability to touch people, the ability to make people feel understood, the ability to transport people somewhere, you won't last.
No.
Because ultimately that's
No.
what people want. They want to be given an experience. And if you can't give them an experience, they don't want you.
Yeah.
Or if they don't like the experience. And if you don't know enough about what you're trying to do to people, like we make this stuff for audiences. It's for them.
Yeah.
It's for all of the people who have the shittiest jobs and make absolute dick doing them, like nurses and teachers and I mean people who public defenders, people who have the most thankless fucking jobs and make no money for it. Like, we owe them a departure from reality. We owe them understanding. We owe them revelation. We owe them that. That's our job that we owe to them. Now, you can take so many avenues to do that, but as long as that's the intention, I don't know. I feel like that's where it ought to be. You know, it's also why I find it very distasteful when I hear celebrities complain about anything at all.
Well, and like you said, audiences are not stupid. They're incredibly smart and they can call bullshit a mile away. So if you're not good at what you do and you're trying to put this on, they'll ask for their money back.
Yeah,
As they
eventually,
should.
yeah, unless it's young adult entertainment,
True.
but that's always been the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, kids and teenagers are not looking for the same things that adult I mean, I shouldn't again, I'm speaking broadly, that's not true for everyone. It's not true
Yeah.
for every teenager, like, I, as a teenager, watched all kinds of movies that, were probably not age appropriate. But I was but I still was able to appreciate, I saw, like, David Lynch's entire catalog and,
Yeah.
like, it's more just and I'm not even talking about the audience in this case. I'm talking about the people who make the entertainment that's geared toward them. And a lot of the shows I see, the people who make entertainment geared towards kids and teenagers do think that they're stupid. And a
Yeah.
lot of the entertainment I see geared toward adults are made by people who think we're stupid. And it's really annoying.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. But there's I mean, everything is different now. How we watch things is different. Watching a movie was a community thing. Everyone would go to the movie theater together, and they would watch something together, and everyone would have to sit still quietly until the movie was done. You know what I mean? That I think that did more for the fabric of society than we probably appreciate or realize. This whole, like, we'll
Honestly.
all just hole up in our little cave and
Yeah.
binge watch 10 episodes of something in our little I'm guilty of it too,
Yeah.
completely. I will
Very human.
happily Yes, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
our survival instincts put again, our ego, our survival instincts, our ego helps us survive. It pushes us towards comfort. So the more readily available comfort is, the more we will just keep pressing that good feeling button as much as possible.
Yes.
And I try not to do that. I encourage other people not to do that. Life is not about being happy, you know?
Yeah.
Um and even the nature of happiness. I mean, what is that? Just a constant feeling of contentment all the time? Why don't we just go back to living in trees and eating nuts and bugs that we find and grooming each other? Why don't we just do that if we want to feel good all the time? We can just go back to being gentle beasts of the forest. I actually had another thing because I'm so glad that mental health is like a thing that people take seriously now because I
Right?
find
It
so
only
many
took
things that are so helpful.
how many centuries?
Yeah, seriously. But one of the things that I saw that someone wrote was that our brains are designed to keep us alive. They're not designed to keep us happy. That's why we release bursts of endorphins, not constantly streaming endorphins. That's why we have a limited amount of serotonin. Um, that's but so it's the idea of being challenged, I think, is something that's become distasteful to people, but it's so important for anyone's development in anything. Adversity is so important. Overcoming things is so important. It's called a fool's paradise for a reason. You know, it's not like there are a lot of people who are much happier than I am. Um, and that's great, but I also wouldn't be satisfied with the same things that they're satisfied with.
True. Very,
And
very
again,
true.
that's not like it's not an elitist thing because again, more power to you. If you can find a place where you are at peace, great. But I saw this quote once on a Buddhist temple and in Thailand, and it said, "How joyful I am to learn that there is no such thing as happiness." And oh my god, I read that, I was like, wow, like the pressure is off. Like I don't have to
Yeah.
like isn't it funny that anytime you see someone talking about mindfulness or there's an article in a magazine about mindfulness, it's always someone who's like they just have
A smile of terror.
this yeah, or it's just
Yeah.
like This is what I'm supporting. Just bliss, kind of living in bliss. I don't think that that's honest. Also, another thing I love about sort of Eastern philosophy, like Taoism or Buddhism, is that it is about that suffering is part of life. Like Stoicism, same thing. Mm-hmm. You must embrace tragedy. You must embrace suffering. Not that you should suffer on purpose, but that you should recognize that it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Suffering is inevitable. I mean, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like just as a person, I've always kind of been a natural stoic. Not that I haven't had my, my emotional breakdowns and such, but, you do kind of have to understand that everything is fleeting, including happiness, including moments of being happy.
Yeah.
The more important than finding happiness, I think, is finding a purpose. And if anyone out there is wondering, a really great book for this is a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's by I can't recommend it highly enough. It's short. It's like, that thick. And it's written by a man named Viktor Frankl, Viktor with a K. And he was an Auschwitz survivor, lost his entire family, including his pregnant wife, who was only 23, at, I think, Dachau and then Auschwitz. And he had written a manuscript outlining a type of therapy he was developing called logotherapy. And he brought the manuscript with him sewn into the lining of his coat pocket, and his coat was taken and burned. So his whole manuscript went up in flames. So for the rest of his years at these concentration camps, he rewrote it on little pieces of scrap paper and cloth and added to it and kept and hid them. And that was how he wrote this fucking book. And even when you read the book, he talks about his time in the concentration camp, but only in as much as it serves to illustrate the type of therapy he developed. Because his thesis is that man, as opposed to being motivated by love or a need for love, like Freud had supposed, that man is instead motivated by a need for purpose, a need to have purpose in their life. And so logotherapy is very interesting because it's about practicing resilience, about fortifying yourself, about becoming a resilient person. And I'll fucking tell you what, if you want to get into this industry and you aren't related to or dating anybody, you are going to have to be very resilient. You are going to have some serious fortitude and a very thick skin. You are going to have to know how to pick your head up every day, even when the world is crashing down around you. So I recommend that. I recommend meditations, Marcus Aurelius. And I don't know. I think that philosophically, those are good places to start on this crazy journey. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want to sound so. I don't want to sound like such a Cassandra about this, but because I really do love it. I mean, I'm obsessed. It is the most exhilarating, fulfilling feeling when you actually are on set and you actually are doing it.
Yeah.
There is no feeling like it. Even if you're miserable in between takes, between cut and action, you're just like, fuck, I hate this. I hate every goddamn person on this set. I just want everyone to die. And then action. Then you go and do your thing. And then it's like, everything makes sense. But I've been very lucky. I haven't been on a lot of sets that sucked. I've been on some really nice ones. So
it's a feeling that I can't even begin to describe to, like, even members of my family that would ask me about, like, what's it like being on set? And you don't know how to properly convey to them how great you feel being there. Even like you said, it's 3 a.m, you're exhausted, you're like injured
Yeah.
maybe from a stunt or something, but you
Yeah.
are
Maybe
in
you and the
it.
director are starting to snipe at each other.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the night, I love you, brother.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
love you, man. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. You got 6 a.m. call time. Yeah, it's 5:30.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll see you.
Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Non-union. Um,
God, never
I
again.
no, I love everything you encapsulated into the advice also goes with, like the shout outs and the promotions that we have in this episode for people who are looking for, other things that fill their mind and really embrace this
Yeah.
crazy job that we've decided to pursue as a career. Because, it's arduous, but it's far from the hardest job on the planet.
God, no. Oh, no.
It's just
No.
like you said, resilience
Yeah.
especially.
The hardest part is surviving while you try to book work.
Yeah.
And booking the actual work, getting into a room where you can book work. Those are the hardest parts. Like, even on set, no matter how hard, like, there are days where, like, all right, we're doing a bunch of stunts in a bathroom where the pipe broke, so you guys are getting rained on with freezing cold water, and you're fighting in the bathtub, and no, we didn't heat up the water because we forgot, so, I mean, we could get you an extra pair of pants if you, that kind of shit, and you got cramps, and you got, all this stuff, oh, I cricked my neck, whatever. Even that's still not, like, that's still not, you know, being a social worker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's not, like, there is not nearly as much responsibility or accountability than there is in a job like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's, and also there's an excitement to our job. It changes all the time. There's variety to it. It's not the same office every day, the same filing cabinet, the same Windows processor, the same fucking HR department, the same goddamn admin who's on Facebook all day. It's not. You can change. You can travel, and you can, meet interesting people, and it's a higher risk, higher reward career. Now, you will not make any money for 10 years. So there's that trade-off. I have slept in my car. I have slept on people's floors. It happens.
Yeah. But it's was it Brian Dennehy? It's like, if you could do anything else in the world,
Go do it.
like go do. Yeah. Don't even take a step. Just go do this.
If there's anything else that you even like to do, if you
Yeah.
like doing anything else, go do that instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I know you can't either. I will say I feel closer to you than most people, because you did grow up absorbing all of this media and absorbing all of this art, and that
Yeah.
grew into this obsession
Yeah.
that you have for the art itself. I mean, as you can see by my very adult oriented background here for the I'm a grown ass man.
Yes. Although I
Obsessed
do
with
love the
this.
Rocketeer poster. I used to love that movie.
I'm
Classic.
Speaking of obsessions, it's yeah. That's definitely mine. But I do want to say, like, I've had just an incredible time talking to you, hearing about not only your
Thank you.
story, but like your thoughts, man. Like what you have going on internally is so close to what all of us are also going through, of just, does anyone else see this shit? Like that kind of level of
Yeah.
observance. It's very
Well, thank
comforting to
you.
me.
I appreciate that, because that's our job,
Yeah.
is to
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
exact thing. Yay!
Um
I'm so glad to
yeah.
hear that.
I do want to have you back at some point, down the
I would love
road.
to come back.
I'd
Yeah.
figure, I'm manifesting it here. I'll see you on set at some point in the future. We'll
That would
work
be
together.
awesome.
You'll probably end up like shooting me and I'm some zombie thing, but
I'll try and make sure that they give you some lines.
yes.
No matter what.
Hey, I'm getting there in the co-star world, man. I'm getting so close. Just
Here's the ball,
to the
dude.
name stuff.
Man, I'm gonna be your supporting mate.
Hey, we'll support each other. That's what's gonna happen.
There we go.
I have one more thing before we stop.
Please.
And it's something I love doing, especially knowing that you've seen the fucking movie. No one else has seen it. I've talked to so many people, maybe 20% have seen it. But going back to Wayne's World, I have an awkward goodbye I like to do for the Anna Beach recording. So you know that scene where Wayne leaves the newly, constructed set, he's over with it, he walks off and Garth is left by himself? Well, I'm gonna give you a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and when I point, give me your best verbal, like, Garth-based awkward goodbye, and I'll stop the recording from there.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, buddy. Here we go. In 3.
I'm having a good time. Not.